Please be aware that the podcast you're about to listen to is intended for mature audiences. It takes on topics such as mental illness, violence, abandonment, trauma, and in general, the end of the world as we know it. Please take care of yourself as you continue to enjoy our episodes. Take breaks as you need to.
I felt that coming.
Yeah.
So,
Hey.
Come
now,
on.
I was waiting for you to say something.
I was trying so hard not to.
Well, now is the time. Welcome to our discussion episode. We have just finished recording for this session, this series of episodes. How's everyone feeling?
All right.
Stressed.
Yeah, I feel stressed for sure.
Stressed
Yeah.
out.
I'm like, dang, Imani's in the hospital. That's so far.
I know, right?
How are you gonna get her
like,
back?
And that's not a good
Damn.
thing. That's
No,
not
it's
a
not.
good thing that Imani got dragged to a hospital
Right.
completely out of the way.
And with
Yeah.
her demon.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good. At best case scenario, we know who we're looking for, but we have no idea where they are.
Right. And even if we do, I'm like, we're gonna need more people in demons. We can't do this with just two of us.
Can't do this with half the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how y'all split the party.
Damn. I mean, it was covering more ground, but
I mean, and like technically the plan worked.
Yeah.
Technically,
Mm-hmm.
like very, very, very technically, we figured something out.
We did.
That something also incapacitated one of our team members and split us down the middle.
You hope you figured something out, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Christ.
Okay.
So, I know I ask this every time, but I think it's an important question, especially for what we are doing with this playthrough and everything. But what mental health moments are standing out for y'all right now?
Aya's getting pissed. Aya's like feeling very like invalidated in her grief. Like around her brother. Because like she's barely been able to process his death like at all. And it's something that just keeps kind of getting glossed over. It's a major event in her life.
Yeah.
But like for everyone else, because it's so removed, they're just like, we aren't processing this the way you're processing this, and it doesn't matter because we have shit to do. Which is weird. It's such a reversal for Aya. It's like Jamal dying just took the wind out of her sails. And like normally being the person who's like, I got shit to do, I gotta work, I gotta grind, I gotta get things going. This very singular moment in her life is like wrecking her pretty hard.
Yeah, I think that's a really common experience with grief when when people around you don't understand, or when people think you should be over it or functioning better or things like that. That's something that a lot of people when they experience loss, like, and I've definitely have currently someone going through similar of like my world, like the idea of my world has been turned upside down and no one gets it. Why am I supposed to keep moving forward? And I think it's a massive issue with the way, especially like American society views like grief and death and all of these things, because yeah, we don't make time for those things. It's like, even working at a community mental health, center, I think bereavement was like 3 days.
That's awful. That's so
Mhm.
awful.
That's like if you're lucky to get bereavement at all, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because normally it's like, well, it's gonna have to come out of your sick time, or it's gonna have to come out of your paid time off, or like, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, such a major part of grieving is community, right? Just like community grief and being able to hold it with other people. And like, not only are you being dismissed, but like, who can you even talk to about this, right? You can't go back to your family, obviously. No one around you is paying attention. It's kind of just, yeah, you're holding every part of this by yourself.
And now I could implicate myself in a literal fucking murder if I decided to confide in the wrong person.
Very true.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, how do you even explain what happened? Like, you can't even.
Right.
Yeah. And I think too that like the theme of grief is important in this game, and like important right now, I think too, because we're still technically like we're still in this pandemic. Like I know this city and the US in general is acting like we're not anymore. And we'll see how that goes for us. But in game, this is kind of at the a little bit further of a restart period than we're at presently in real life. But like just this idea of so many people have died. And Kiana, as you mentioned, like an important part about healing from grief is community. And yet, like, as a society, we are not actually confronting the, over 500,000 people that have died in the US alone.
Yeah, it is both an impossible thing to hold, it feels like, but also a necessary thing to hold. So I think so many folks are just caught in that in between of like, how do you even grieve all of those folks, right? How do you hold space for all of those folks? And that's globally. There's so many individual things happening around grief too. And people's like personal lives, right? Closer to home. So it's just like, yes, so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, what else is standing out for people when it comes to the mental health and wellness aspect of the game?
I feel so bad for Imani right now.
Same.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Imani right now for having to like just like staying on the theme of the pandemic, right? It's also like to be like in the middle of what feels like the end for some people, but not the end for everyone. And then existing in that moment, like in the center of all of these people, and then injured, like as like probably a way to get her out of the way because we were close to something that we weren't supposed to find or that someone didn't want us to find. And now trapped with a demon who literally feeds off fear. So that's great. It feels super bad. And I guess the thing that comes up that's not necessarily mental health, but like that hospital stuff, super real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's mental health to me. Because, I mean, it's for a lot of folks, that's it's related to, you mean like the fact that they went to a different hospital, or the like feeling of being in a hospital?
That feeling of, well, so okay, so it's, I guess it's a couple things. So the first thing is that having to like be bounced around different hospitals that are like so far away from where the situation happened, like that's a thing. And the thing I felt for the most was right away Imani was like, I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Like I can't afford to be injured right now. Even though I clearly am not gravely, but even though I clearly am significantly injured, like injured to the point of stitches at least, I still can't afford this. So we should figure out another way.
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely want to hear from you, Jay.
Yeah. I guess for me, I guess I'm like, I feel really bad because I'm like, I don't want to put my girl through this, but then it's just also like, I feel like she's just she's really headstrong and she's used to doing things without a lot of help. So I think that also kind of veers her judgment towards like that in regards to like, oh, well, of course we should split up, we'll cover more ground, but then not really thinking about like what happens if we end up finding something in that regard. Um, Definitely like the hospital thing. Like for me, I spend a lot of my childhood in hospitals, like just in and out for various issues. So yeah, going to the hospital is not a blast. It's like the last thing I realistically ever want to do, and I feel like Amani would feel the same way because it's like, hospitals are supposed to be like, there's a lot of like terrible things that happen in hospitals, not just like people dying, but also just like people not being properly cared for, people that are not getting their needs met, and that also just kind of affects like other people in the hospital's well-being because if you're just like walking around and you see that, or like you know that something's wrong and maybe in the bed next to you or in the room across the hall, that affects you as well. So it's just, it's just not helping anything, especially since I feel like she's still really kind of worried about, she doesn't have her car anymore, she can't go back to her apartment, and now she's basically stuck in the hospital, and it's not like she has a lot of people she can rely on.
There's so much going on for Imani.
Yeah.
Not to mention too, like something that I caught that you said that was like small, but like really, I think speaks to her character, is like it was essentially around feeling bad that in the moment where you are hurt and injured, you're like apologizing to Aya because you have to like leave and you can't help and support her.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like injured literally on the ground, right?
right.
Yeah,
And it's just
look,
like,
she's a woman of her
damn,
word, so she's like,
right,
if I can't help anymore, then what fucking use am I?
right. That was
Oh,
something that stood out to
Can
me so
I'm
much.
sorry, black women, what?
Right, right, right. Exactly.
Or I mean, like also black people in general, but like that feels like a very like the superhero narrative of like, I'm sorry that even though I am dealing with something, I am not able to put it aside for you. Like,
Yeah, I think in her regard, it's just also like, I don't know how to word this. It's also like she shouldn't have put herself in that situation, I guess, where it was like
oh,
kind of like looking like, of course, hindsight's 2020, and it's just like, oh well, maybe I should have not like done this, or maybe it would have been different if like I stayed upstairs or something like that. But, obviously a lot of different ideas and solutions that maybe she could have avoided this, but yeah, I don't think she really thinks that it just like stuff happens, and sometimes it's just a bad series of events.
Hmm.
yeah, that self blame is massive, and like with especially the way that it works with like the superwoman schema for black folks is so hard
Mhm.
because it's not only, oh, I have to put everything aside for other people. It is the,
Mhm.
if I can't, it's my own fault.
Mhm.
that has that baked in like self-blame, which then just perpetuates it all so much, that it's just this massive double whammy that is so detrimental to wellness and so much a part of Black folks and Black culture. I know, like like there's so many people who benefit from it that it's hard to get people on board with stopping us, and I include myself here, of like stopping us when we do that, right? Of like reminding us that we deserve good things, we deserve care. It's okay to lean on people sometimes. Like, no, not sometimes. It's okay to need other people. Is so much a thing that's so hard. Like, I'm a literal therapist and trainer and consultant and all of these things, and I still struggle with this so massively of like, well, fuck. Now like now I can't do X thing and it's all my fault and now no one likes me and now I'm useless, and it's like there's so much more to people than what they're useful for.
Right.
Ooh, yeah.
Definitely.
There's this of course it's been a tweet, but there's this tweet that's been going around that was something along the lines of, I no longer wish to be known as resilient.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all have
Continue.
gotten to see that one, but I don't remember. It's essentially just like a Black person being like, I don't want to be known as a superhero anymore. I'm tired of being known for how strong I am and for how able I am to take a hit and just keep taking hits and keep going and persevering, essentially. Like, I want to be soft, I want to be vulnerable, I want to be all of these other things. And it just, I don't remember it entirely, but I remember feeling like, yeah, mutual. Like, I'd rather be known for like somebody who like hasn't had to compartmentalize every part of their life to function on a daily basis, or or has had to push through. Like, the pushing through is so exhausting, but it's such an ingrained part of the Black experience.
Not to mention that there's just some shit that you shouldn't push through. And I think that's a piece, and I think that also goes back to this grief conversation, right? Of like, I was talking with someone just this past week, who, they had experienced a loss and they were judging it as like not being big enough. It wasn't a big enough loss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, because so specifically the loss was around a long-term pet. And so there was shame around like people have lost like actual people, and I'm sad about an animal, and it was like and that aspect, and I was just like, okay, hold on. Like this idea of resilience that requires pushing through everything is just another form of oppression, because it's another disconnection from ourselves, right? And like the whole reason, so the first part of my decolonizing trauma work training, the like second part of the heading of the title is moving past the privilege of post-traumatic growth. And I talk about resilience as part of that concept because the way that resilience gets used so frequently is not, it's bypassing and it's oppression. It's like weaponized oppression of saying, well, you shouldn't need X thing. You should just be able to get through it. And it's like, what are we being like, why do we need to be resilient in the first place? like we and having to examine that, and it's like if we're
Mm.
grieving, we should be able to stop for a while and feel what we're feeling. If we're hurt, we're not supposed to just have to push
Right.
through, and we have to push through so much. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no sustained structure to actually support what grief actually is in this country specifically.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I feel like unfortunately it's like, what did you say it was? The privilege of post-traumatic recovery?
Yeah, the privilege of post-traumatic growth, because there's the idea
Of post-traumatic growth.
yeah.
That hits really hard when thinking about like the ways that people are allowed to cope, are able to cope with grief.
Mm-hmm.
Like this idea of like, yeah, I can totally cope with grief and find therapy if I can afford a therapist. I can totally take time off to heal from a loss, no matter how small it may be societally, if my job, like, provides that sort of thing. And if my job doesn't provide that sort of thing, then I have to keep it moving. Like, I remember even moments where I've had like family members in the hospital and I was in college and they were like, you can't miss this chance to graduate. They're like, you have to graduate, you have to finish this, or what else is it for? And I'm like, my family's in the hospital, like I'd rather be here than be at school. But the 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 focus was so much on like, you still have to achieve something, you still have to become greater than you actually are right now, you still have to rise above this somehow. And it was one of the more exhausting years of my entire college career because of the fact that I was like ignoring some very real things that I was personally dealing with. But like, if I were to say that was the first time I had ever experienced something that like that on a personal level, I'd be lying. And I think if like there'd be quite a few people that'd be like, oh yeah, it happens. Like at this point, they'd be like, oh yeah, it happens. It's just like another part of the dice, I guess. Another, yeah.
Yeah, I was as you were talking about that, I was trying to imagine like, okay, like what would the world look like? What would things look like if we were allowed or were able to take the space to just deal with things, not even just grief, but I mean like whatever would come up, instead of push through. And it's so difficult to imagine. I mean, it's because it's all centered around productivity. It's like if everybody had the opportunity to like collapse, like, right, in a way that feels right when you're dealing with heavy shit. It's like, yeah, it's just so hard to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are some like good, at least short-term examples, right?
For
So
sure.
like
For sure.
in Judaism, they have sitting Shiva, which when someone dies, they um, sit for a week in order to give space to like grieve and process and things like that. And there's a lot of, any meditative spirituality and everything, I think, has that slow down mentality that is so important. I mean, a lot of African cultures have that, right? And we joke about, black time or colored people time and stuff like that all the time, but like that really does denote this sense of abundance that white Western societies like the US, just don't have. It is so based on scarcity and utility. And it's like, well, if I'm resting, then I'm not doing X thing. And, something I ask people a lot in sessions is, you know, why doesn't your rest count as something meaningful? Why does
Oof.
everything have to be doing? Why can't we allow being?
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for that word.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
For real.
I felt called in and validated at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like um, helping folks see that their rest matters. Yeah, there's it is such an important thing to learn and such a hard thing to learn, but such an important thing to even hear.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I think one thing this system does well is to replicate that scarcity feeling that our society has.
Mm-hmm.
Which like um yeah is a
Yeah,
mess.
totally. Yeah, now that you mention it, like throughout the game, even from day one, time slot one, there's been that moment of like, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. In this particular case, it's right, preventing the end of the world, essentially. But that could be switched out for anything. It could be switched out for this project has got to get turned in today, or we're on this deadline, or I'm behind on homework, or um, like I don't have enough days off and I can't take off for this. So I have to deal with it. Um, any of those things could have could be swapped out for like that moment of it has to get done. It still has to be something successful or it's for nothing.
And I think it's so interesting that you said that too, because we're in the game literally talking about the end of the world, right? And what you're bringing up, right? It could be homework, it could be an assignment, it could be something at work. It feels like the end of the world sometimes. Like if you don't get those things done, when it's
Truly.
like
Yeah.
actually it's not, but it feels like that, which is so, yeah, I think just like you said, Cassie, just the system doing a really great job at making us feel that way, that scarcity.
I can't have now that we're here and talking about like the scarcity and everything. I also can't. I have to go here as far as like just the kinds of therapy we end up getting trained in and how much. So, and you can tell me your thoughts on this too, Kiana. But like as practitioners, how much the main popular modalities that a lot of us are trained in like grad school and like the core like here's your starter pack of how to do therapy also really enforces and like works with that scarcity. Like behavioral
Completely.
therapies, short-term therapies, solution-based therapies are so scarcity based and like yeah, we gotta get you better,
We
we
gotta
gotta get
get
you
pack you up,
functioning.
get you ready for the world, push you out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do totally agree of like what they teach, quote unquote, us in grad school is definitely just to fix people. I mean, right? Even though they try to navigate away from that word and from those terms, that's essentially what they're teaching us. Fix them, get them back to productivity, right? Because there's some invisible baseline out there where everyone's supposed to meet, that everyone's supposed to meet, um,
Mm.
and then okay, therapy's over. You're fixed, right? If you can be productive and you can work and you can, be in relationships, then you're fixed, quote unquote.
Yeah. Like the problem with fix it in general requires viewing something as broken, right? There has to be an inherent problem. Whereas, like, I mean, I know that's how the system is built. That's why we talk about mental health and mental illness instead of like mental wellness and well being because like it's so it's based in problems, but like the idea that we need to fix it is such an issue when we're talking about like reactions and brains and relationship and thoughts, because like we're, I personally don't take the reductivist approach. I don't believe that we are only our, neurons and neurochemicals. I think there's more to it than that, which is why, medications affect people differently, and we haven't been able to map them because there's so much variability between people. And I think that's part of it, because I don't think like Western scientific method, I don't think it attunes to people, and I don't think it works fully. So like even that idea of having to view everything as a problem, right? Of like everything's a nail to a hammer, and we don't want to expand our toolbox, but that makes people distrust themselves even more. Of like, oh, I'm the problem because, oh, I'm depressed again. Oh, I'm anxious again. Oh, I can't do this again. But it's like, okay, but like what's serving you and stuff? Because even this game, like in the context of the game, the use of demons as both the threat and the antagonist, as well as part of the solution and a very needed part of the party. Like you all are seeing how hard it is to do this game with one a small party, and two a small party that is two humans and one demon, right? And if we look at our mental well-being in that context of like, even your demons probably at some point had a purpose that was protecting you, then things get so much more expansive.
Ooh. Damn.
Yeah.
Granted, caveat, in that statement, I have to say this, my God. I am talking about inner demons. I am not talking about the idea of like my trauma saved me. That is not what I'm saying. Please do not misconstrue it. Don't get it twisted. We are not going that route here, but I am talking about our internal processes that we get frustrated with that may have helped us survive at some other point, or may even still be helping us survive, but may also be keeping us away from thriving.
Yeah. I get you.
Oof. I think that's such a huge discussion too on like who decides that therapy is necessary. Not only on a personal level, but on a societal level. Like this idea that like we're talking about therapy as a fix as if it's like some inanimate object we're repairing, or even in certain communities, this whole idea of like there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not, pardon the ableism here. I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, there's nothing, I'm not broken. Look at me. I'm fine. I'm handling it. I'm managing it. I'm moving through it. It's absolutely fine. I don't need therapy, because therapy is only for broken people.
Yeah.
And I think that comes up because of this idea of like how we discuss the idea of mental health, and how we discuss the idea of like as somebody who has been through a few therapists now, I feel like so many of those therapist goals have been to make me feel better, at least enough to feel like well enough to do the bare minimum of my day sometimes. And it's like, it's not a broken clock, it's a person. And so many people don't consider therapy as an option because they don't consider themselves broken enough yet.
Yeah.
I don't think we have time to get into this, so maybe at some time this could be a bonus episode, but like, oh, I have such a problem with therapists having goals for the people they are serving. It should not be our goals. And the fact that you could sense their agenda that strongly is to me a red flag, right? Like I do, like, yeah, we all want the best for people, but what the best is really should be up to that person. And I work so hard to make sure that I am goalless until I am told what the goal is. And even then, like, being open to changing and interrogating. And I think that's a lot of also, like, all of these issues are such barriers for queer Black folks getting help, right? Is because it's this idea that there has to be a rigid goal. The therapist has their own goal, and it may not align with the client's goal. And, you know, all of these things that continue to objectify us in, like, when we are in, when we are in the client seat, right, is such an issue, and like continues to feed into these cycles. And also, just even Black therapists sometimes are not in tune with more cultural forms of healing that are needed, and the need for like community and communal healing and spirit, and that ability to be open to having more than one type of healing, because we want a one-stop shop. And it's like, we are not a fucking computer.
Right.
This is gonna have to be a bonus episode because I have so many thoughts about all this, and I also need to use the bathroom so badly. So I'm just like, but yes to all of this. Like, there's so much unlearning, even with folks who, with a lot of my clients, if not all of them, unlearning of like, this is not my space, this is yours. Like, this is your space. Like, we can co-create, we can collaborate, and we will, but like, this is your space. Like, you know, run it to a degree, right? So yeah, so much of that.
Yeah,
best therapist I ever had worked from a place of curiosity and not from a place of trying to fix me.
Yes.
They're like, I want to know what you're dealing with. I want to know what's going on with you, how you're feeling, what you want, and then we'll go from there. Then we'll plan.
Yeah. Because it shouldn't be about us. And yeah, I just like, and it's interesting too, because people who have had therapists that do tell them what to do and have their own agenda and everything, like, sometimes people are so, like, will be in that cycle and they'll be very angry when I'm like, nah, I'm not going to tell you what to do. What do you mean? Nah, what do you want to do?
How could I possibly tell you what to do?
What do you want for yourself?
Like, so real.
So we are totally over time. I know we're tired. We want to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Kiana, you and I should just have a therapist rant sesh.
Right. Seriously.
As a bonus episode.
I'm ready. I am ready for that. Jeez.
Yes. So, real quick, let's go around. Tell folks what you got going on, how to find you if they want to, if you want to be found, and we will wrap up this discussion episode. Let's start with Kiana, since you gotta go.
Yes, please. Thank you. Kiana, not. I think maybe you can listen to previous episodes for where I can be found, but I will say I'm not trying to be found right now. So if that changes in the future, I will say that in that episode. But right now, I'm not trying to be found.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. I don't really have anything to promote at this time.
Cool. Vita.
Hi, I'm Vita. I am currently in the process of recording an EP with some folks. So If you want to stay tuned on what I'm doing for art stuff, I can be found on Instagram with Vita E, that is VITAE, 19892015. Yes, it is a long handle. If you wind up kicking it with me, then we'll chat. Cool.
And I am Cassie, your humble GM and host. I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook through either the Intersections or Woke Mental Wellness pages. All links will be below. Otherwise, we will be taking a break sometime this summer. So be on the lookout for what week that's happening. And thank you for continuing to listen to Woke Mental Wellness presents Windy City Demons. This has been our fourth discussion episode. And I hope you keep listening. Let us know that you like what we're doing. Send some love our way. Comments and such are much appreciated. We also have our Patreon and now a coffee page if you want to show your appreciation via money. So thank you all for listening and take care of yourselves. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Windy City Demons, a woke mental wellness actual play of 12 Inner Demons. If you want to connect with us, you can find our contact information in the episode notes. If you want to learn more or to support our podcast, you can join our Patreon. We can also be found on most major podcasting platforms, and videos are also uploaded to YouTube. Our Patreons get episodes one day early on Fridays. Otherwise, we tend to release on Saturdays. So don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave reviews and messages if you liked our content. Thank you for listening, and take care of yourselves until next time. Surprise! This is Cassie from the future, and one final note that I didn't know while we were recording this is that on July 16th, a Friday, I will be on a panel for PAX Online East that will be airing on the PAX 2 Twitch channel. You can go online or just click the link in the show notes in order to find that and get it right for your time zone. So if you'd like to see me talk with a bunch of really awesome folks about the horror genre and how we can have horror without having horrible tropes, come check it out and throw some support in the chat on Twitch. That is, once again, Friday, July 16th on the PAX 2 Twitch channel.